Hi there makers, it is Jo here from Minerva, and I've put together a few cover stitch videos for you because it's something we get asked for quite a lot. Today I'm going to be working on my Baby Lock Primo. It is quite a high-end cover stitch machine, and I want you to think about whether you want to have one or not and what kind of things you can do with it. Today I'm going to be making the Saybrook top from Cashmere Patterns. It's a vest top. I'm thinking I want to show you some techniques on stretch fabrics, so I'm using a cotton rib. A rib fabric is really stretchy and sometimes tricky to control, but you want to have a vest top or t-shirt or sweatshirt that's got a really professional finish. First of all, what is a cover stitch machine? Well, a cover stitch machine is predominantly for hemming and especially for knits. It gives you 2 or 3 layers of top stitching on the right side, and it will give you a covered stitch on the back. So one looper will cover over the raw edge of your fabric. A cover stitch machine doesn't really do anything any different that you can do on your normal sewing machine. It's just faster and quicker, and you can keep your machine all set up. You can use different threads on here so that your loop at the back is more filled in and more decorative, or you can have the decorative cover stitch on the right side. It's different to an overlocker because there's no blade. You've got more footbed space to put your work in different positions. You're not just working on the raw edge. It gives a very stretchy seam, so if you're working with activewear, dance wear, gym wear, or any kind of stretchy fabrics, it will make your hem super stretchy so it won't pop when you put it over your head with an item that has negative ease. On a cover stitch machine, you can also work with one needle, and that's called a chain stitch, and you can use that for top stitching, a single line. You can also use it for putting seams together. It's a great seam actually for basting, so you can put together an item, try it on, see what it's like, and because the chain stitch is not locked off on the end, you can then just pull it out, and it's a great basting stitch for fitting your garments. The other great feature on a cover stitch machine is it's fantastic for applying elastic. So if you're making swimwear or lingerie, or you want to have a really neat finish on, say, a wrap dress where you want to have elastic in the front edge, you can get a special foot for the cover stitch machine where you can guide elastic through the foot and it will roll over the fabric, cover stitch on the back and top stitch on the top. I've decided not to show you how to thread up a cover stitch machine because really you need to follow a tutorial for your specific manufacturer and type. I've got a Baby Lock Primo here that I'm using, so I've used the manual to help me to thread up. If I showed you on here how to thread up, it's pretty useless because it's an automatic air threader, so when I press a button the looper just shoots straight through, so it's not helping you to show the thread path of what you might need for your machine. Also, this one has auto tension, so I can't even show you either how to set up your dials. You'll need to use your manual, follow a specific YouTube tutorial for your machine type, or you might need to head back to the dealer, or you might have seen how to thread a machine when you went to look at one in the first place. Today, I really want to show you how to use a cover stitch machine and what kind of things you can do with it. The main reason people get a cover stitch machine is to have a complete setup for hemming. It's really great if you're doing a lot of hemming, so if you're making bridesmaids dresses and you've got lots to do, or you sew for a dance group, or you sew a lot of knitwear and stretch knits for children's wear and for yourself, you can have a dedicated machine that's all set up for hemming. That's the main thing that people have it for, so I'm going to show you that first today. You can put together the main pieces of your garment with machine stitching. That's a stretch stitch, and it's helpful if you've got bulkier seams, or you can use a overlock edge if you've got a lighter fabric. You can add a neckband with the cover stitch and hems. You need to prepare your hem, so I've pressed up my hem using a hot hemmer. This is going to make sure that I have a consistent edge all the way along the bottom. This is important because you're going to be sewing from the right side, so essentially you're going to be sewing blind and you won't see where the back of the fabric is. On the side seams, it's useful to clip where the fold is and split your seam allowances in opposite directions so that you reduce bulk. I'm going to pin with the pin heads on the folded edge so that I can pull it out from the other side. If you can't snip into your fabric because it's quite light, you can just put in a little twist. That will split the seam allowance load. Pin. It will feel a little bit bulky on the outer edge where the twist is, but it'll be nice and flat and slim where the cover stitch is going to be. Now that your fabric hem is all prepared, it's time to set up the needles and the thread so you can start stitching in the round. If the last action you did was chaining off, then if you want to hem, you'll notice that here the threads from the needles are going down into the foot plate, and that's in order to create the chain. So what we need to do is release those threads, because I can't get my hem under here because it's hitting those threads. To release the threads, I'm going to hold the chain and turn the hand wheel forwards, and then keep going forwards until the needles are in the highest position, and then turn the hand wheel back away from me and it will release the threads. Cut this off now, and my threads are free, and I've got all of this space now so that I can position my work and it can go underneath. It's best to start just away from the seam a little bit. This can be a little bit bulky and it can hamper you getting started. This is the back of the top, so I've just started behind the back seam so that I get a clean run over that first seam. If it's tipping the foot up at the front, you'll get some skip stitches. So make sure that your needles are down, and you can just level off the foot with a bulky seam aid. This thin side has just helped me to get over that seam allowance. And there'll be some sort of guide to help you keep this distance here. So you'll either have guides on your machine marked in grooves or printed on. You'll have guides on your foot maybe that will help you. You can eyeball the distance from the edge of your foot to your fold line. That's why it's quite important to do that press prep, because then you know you have got a bit of a press guide as well to help. You want to make sure that both needles are going through both layers of fabric. If one needle goes on the single layer and the other needle goes on the double layer of fabric, you'll get a sort of tunneling effect where the single side isn't as strong as the thicker side, and it'll scoot up and you'll get a sort of tube running between your top stitch straight lines. If you want to adjust your fabric or move the next bit of fabric along, keep your needles down, or you could also get a skip stitch. As you get back round to the start, you might find if you tug on your looper and your top stitch threads to just make sure that that's not going to unravel anymore. And we're aiming for the 2 lines of stitching behind the foot to join to the 2 lines of stitching in front of the foot. You can use the guides on your foot here. And you've completed the circle. Now you've got the same problem here. You don't want to chain off. If you just turn the work and chain off, you'll get an unsavory sort of line on the front that you don't want. You want it to just look like 2 continuous circles. So this time you need to pull the needle down, up into the highest position, and again back. And you're going to take a tool of some kind to get the threads from between the foot and the fabric. Cut the threads, make sure your needles are up, and pull the work diagonally and to the left at about 11 o'clock. So your threads now are open and not chained. Once you've removed the work, you need to make sure that you tie off the stitches, because they'll be live on the back, and just a tiny little tug and the looper will start to come undone. So you need to make sure that everything's tied off. You pull the top threads through to the wrong side, and you can see there, that's my join. Not very noticeable. We've got nice stitches over the thicker seam allowance areas because we slowed down. We used the jumper to get over those little bits. So on the right side you will see 2 lines of top stitching, and on the back are the loopers. So the loopers need to be onto the 2 layers of fabric. You can have different widths here. You can use 2 needle narrow, which is what I've got now. You can use needles 1 and 3 and have a wide top stitch, and it will give you more decorative stitch on the back and more coverage. You can put in 3 needles, and you can have a 3 needle set of lines on the top and a wider decorative stitch on the back. It is tricky because you're sewing blind, so you can see here's a little bit of inaccuracy. I've caught it here but not so much here. If that really bothers you, you can go back if you've got any larger discrepancies and very carefully trim out any spare fabric. I'm happy with that, and it makes sure that the hem is super stretchy, especially on a rib knit, which has got a great stretch recovery. For a reverse stitch hem, I'm going to have the cover stitch on the right side, and the lines of stitching will be on the inside. You can just use normal threads here, or you can switch out for something different. You can use all different kinds of threads as your lower looper threads. You can use decor threads, woolly nylon threads, or you can use different colours of overlock thread. I'm going to change the colour so that I can reverse stitch, and this time I'm going to have the cover stitch on the right side. There's no need to change the needle thread, you just need to change the looper to whichever thread you want to see on the right side, and you need to repeat the process to release the chain and have separate threads. Cut those off, pull your threads to the left, and then you've got space to put your work. Make sure your seam is open, but this time you're going to sew from the wrong side, so line up your needles so that they're both on the double layer of fabric. When you want to reposition, don't forget to put your needles down so that you don't pull the work out of shape. When you get back to the beginning, just give your initial threads a little tug to make sure they're not going to come undone. And then go over and match up your thread and repeat the process for releasing the threads so that you can take your work out safely. Cut them, ready for the next piece of work, and then you can take a look at your decorative top stitching. Here's the join, you can hardly see it, it's tied on the reverse, so it's knotted off here, and the top stitching is on the inside this time with the decor on the outside. If you use 3 needles, you'll get a wider cover stitch on the right side of the fabric. You can experiment with what you like. This is the Saybrook tank finished. So you can see I've gone on and continue to put the neckbands and the armbands on with the Coverstitch machine, it just looks like a ready to wear bought vest. The insides are impeccable. They're really flat and flush as well. I've shown you today how to do the hem. In a further video, I'll show you how to put on the neckbands. This is the Saybrook tank worn. It's got really nice high arm coverage, so it covers all of your underwear. Covers your bra straps as well. It's got a high back. There are two necks. This one is the low neck. You can have one with a slightly higher neck, and there's also a version with a twist here. For those that like to ask, today I'm wearing a Billy sweatshirt from Tilly and the Buttons. It's the sweatshirt version. It's got a set-in sleeve rather than a raglan or a drop sleeve, so you get a slightly neater sort of silhouette of a sweatshirt. This print is called Motley Mosaic, and the base cloth is a fleece back recycled sweatshirt fabric. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. And I've used my Coverstitch machine to add some decorative details, where I've used the Coverstitch reverse as the bit that I'd like to see. This one has thumb cuffs, but I've just got it folded back for working with. It's got a hemband, and I've added some stitching across here too. Hope that little walkthrough has helped you, especially if you've been struggling with a Coverstitch machine. It's quite a steep learning curve when you first get one. We've got a couple more videos coming up where we'll show you some other techniques, and hopefully you'll find that useful to get you started. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.